Now, actually, since I'm still taping, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Why is this good educationally? Why a 3D world? You've got a real 3D world.
There's three main advantages to education in the virtual world that I have observed personally. Yeah, the first one and the most obvious one is the one we anticipated, and that is just the level of engagement. You know, the kids perceive this as playful and creative. It's an interface that, 90% of these kids are gamers of one type or another, and it's an interface that they're comfortable with. The second thing is that what happens when an avatar is functioning in a learning environment, when a student is functioning via their avatar. And I used to observe this and didn't know what to call it until I went out to the University of Madison, Wisconsin, to the Games Learning and Society Conference, and I spoke with people like Constance Stein-Kuehler, and I read up on my James Paul G. And what happens is the psychosocial moratorium.
I've heard you use that term.
Eric Erikson was the learning theorist that first coined the term, and what he said was that this was years ago, before virtual worlds or anything like that was in place. But he said was teens need an environment or a situation where they can experiment, explore their personality, explore social norms, explore, who they are and what they're all about without the fear of consequences. Now, Jim G. has done a lot of investigation into this, and he basically says it's true for all avatars, not just teens. That what we've really, truly witnessed time and time again on Ramapo is that the first year the teachers came to me and said, every one of my kids is participating. Kids that never talk in class, never raise their hand, I can't get half a paragraph out of them for an essay, are now writing like crazy, they're contributing, they're participating. And it kept happening time and time again. Like every teacher commented on it. So I started doing my research and started reading up on it, and this is what's going on. And then I interviewed the kids, and the kids were saying things to me like, well, when I go into Second Life, nobody really knows who I am, so I don't have to be who everybody perceives me to be in the real world. They say things like, nobody knows who the rich kids are, nobody knows who's got the fancy clothes, nobody knows who's short, tall, skinny, fat. We all start out the same. And I'm really smart, and now I can act like I am. So, and there's not that peer pressure that's so prevalent in middle school population. It's like a clean slate for them. And when we go in there and they're just socializing, we see it happening. We see some of the relationships that form in Second Life actually carrying over into the real world. But more importantly, when we go in with a project and we basically say, or today you're going to behave like scientists, we're giving those kids permission to behave like scientists in the real world. The kids will walk around and go, I'm not good at math. And if they go in there and they work with math, the avatar doesn't know it's not good at math. They're given permission to excel, and it's phenomenal to watch. And
that then translates into real life.
They also, surprisingly enough, they also really respect the fact that they're safe. That we took. I was surprised the first time the superintendent came in and said, "Give me some kids. I want to talk to them about this. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to them." And I couldn't have handpicked better kids or written a better script. I was just like amazed. Because the kids were saying things like, they went through all that stuff about, we all start in the same place, everybody's the same, you start getting appreciated for different things than you would get appreciated for in real life, like how creative you can be, or how, it's not how pretty you are, or how well you're dressed, or, how smart you are. Now it's like we all start out and then we establish who we really want to be. So that was pretty fascinating. But the kids have also said things to me like, we really like the fact that we know we don't have to worry about meeting any weirdos. That one kid actually said, the only weirdos I meet are my friends. So I really like that. I held on to that one. But when I was a kid, I would have been looking for any way around that. How can I get off this island? How can I break the security system? And I got a couple of them. But for the most part, the kids are relaxed. They don't have to be guarded in terms of. So what I usually do is I instill in them, the same rules that apply on the internet in terms of not sharing personal information or not sharing private information. There's a difference between private and personal.
Yes, indeed.
And then as we relax a little bit, because they'll say things to me like, well, can I tell them who I am? And I do a little discussion about avatar and identity. And I say, we know who you are. Your teachers know who you are. It's totally up to you if you choose to disclose your real life.
So there'd be plenty of students then who know avatars, but they don't know who they are in real life.
Well, the surprising thing is 99% of them, the first thing they do when they get in is tell each other who they are.
Yeah, okay, right.
You'll see that today.
Fantastic,
yeah.
Okay.
And I find it very interesting.
Now, okay.
And I try to tell them that beforehand that, you may want to reserve that.
Yeah.
Because you may down the road wish that you had remained more anonymous. That's totally up to you. I also try to say to them when they first log in, they'll get an option of whether they're going to be male or female. And I say to them, this is your avatar. You do not have to apply real-life restrictions to your avatar. And, at this age, they all go, ew! But I've had, a handful of students that have experimented with identity, and I've asked them why, and they said, because I can. There weren't any gender issues or, it was just because I can.
Now, there's the social confidence that they find in this virtual space. To what extent does that translate into confidence in the rest of their lives?
I didn't, because I'm the library media specialist and I don't develop very intimate relationships with the kids. I see them sporadically here and there. By the end of the year, I hopefully know everybody's name and a little bit about them. But I don't have that intimate classroom relationship with them. But my tech club, I do. And I have 60 kids in my tech club this year.
Okay. Right.
Pray for me.
That's more than a club.
Yeah, it's a tribe. And I do get very, very close with them. We're tight, and we talk about issues, and we have Socratic seminars in World, and we have, all sorts of great discussions, and, issues arise, and we work them out, in a very fair way. I look at them and say, Queen. Ultimately, I'm Queen. I'm a decision maker, but I'd like to find out how you think is the best way to resolve this. Last year they wanted to, the tech club wanted to start a police force in Second Life. And I said, let's talk about it. And it was a wonderful discussion. And they said, and what's the counterbalance for the police force? How do we know that the police force? And they said, well, you would have to do that. And I said, then we don't need the police force. And then they decided, when we first put the security system in place, because the first year we didn't have that.
Okay.
And then we were getting so much notoriety, and we knew we were going into 8th, 9th, and 10th grade kids, so half the kids were going to be in the high school, that the administration said, you know what, we want a little more security. We always want an adult present. So we put the security system in place. Well, there was a revolution.
Right.
There was a revolt. And it was a very structured, well-organized, respectable protest. Signs started appearing all over the island. Save Ramapo, ban the ejectors. Kids were forming teams and groups and writing proposals to me about how we could do it a different way. It was watching the process at work. That, you don't like something about the system. How do you voice your dislike for it in a productive, constructive manner? So it was great. I mean, security system's still in place, but we have docents now.
You have what?
Adult docents. So that the grid is open till 10 o'clock at night almost every night.
Okay, so somebody has agreed.
Right.
You split it up.
Most of the slots are filled. We have a couple of weekend slots that are still not filled.
Well, I mean, the adult who's in there doesn't need to be too active, I take it.
They need to be, the way I do it is I have a similar setup like this at home with a couple of computers going. So wherever I'm working, this computer next to me is logged into Ramapo with the sound up all the way. And I just every once in a while travel to another area, but if there's a problem, I get an instant message right away. I teleport over what's going on. It very rarely happens. Sometimes, more often than not, the only problem with that is I'm trying to work and the kids want to chat.
Yeah, sure.
Or the kids want me to help them with something, or they want to show me. Usually it's, can I show you something I just did?
Yeah. Before the security system, were there incidents caused by the lack of adult in there?
There were 2 incidents. One before the security and one after. The first was And the kids they get my 20-minute soapbox speech about the rules and regulations, and that the consequences are goodbye. You're out for the year. It's not 3 strikes and you're out. It's you understand the rules, and they all stand up and take an oath that they understand the rules. And they look. I say, look around the room. Do you see anyone sitting? Is everyone taking this oath that you understand the rules and you understand the consequences for breaking them? That Ramapo is an extension of our school, and the same rules apply.